Hello, dear friends. This is The Medium's Harvest by Emmanuel, a book that was psychographed by Xavier in 1960 and came to life in 1961 through the publishing of the Brazilian Spiritist Federation. The book comes to us as a tribute to the Medium's book by Kardec. The Medium's book by Kardec, this one that I'm holding right now, is subtitled Manual for Mediums or Evokers. So whomever would like to practice mediumship under the light of Spiritism, the Medium's book becomes the safest guideline. And not only safe, but secure and also efficient. Mediumship is not a profession. Mediumship should be free of charge. We respect those who charge, but we wouldn't charge it ourselves. Because now in this reincarnation, we understand that mediumship is given freely, and freely we shall exercise. It's different in a way from our intellectual abilities, because we also develop it and educate it, mediumship in itself. But you are a medium not because you want to be a medium, because you are organically. Different from going to a school, to university, getting a degree, working, researching and developing it. When we talk about mediumship, we're talking about disciplining this ability, educating it. So there's no reason to charge it for it. There's no reason, okay? And especially for the chapter we're going to read tonight, it's a must to keep that in mind. We're going to talk about chapter 55, which is about disturbed spirits. Spirits who are truly troubled. What do we do with them? Some people think that mediumship is about talking to the wonderful superior spirits, but it's not only that. Mediumship is also about giving a hand, reaching out to those who are suffering and wandering. We need to understand the laws of life to see that the spirits may be wandering. Yes, a majority of them do. And they don't know what to do. They don't even know where to go. I'll give you an example. Whenever you have like spiritist meetings or spiritist congress, symposia, you know what the spirits do, the superior ones? They advertise in the spiritual realm of the city, especially in the city, in the streets, putting flyers. So the wandering spirits were not even aware that they are discarnated. They see the flyers of the therapeutics that are going to be offered, like a hospital type, and they're going to be rescued there during the time that we have a symposium, during the time that we have a spiritist meeting in our center, or a spiritist event. Exactly. We'll never forget in the first spiritist symposium that happened in Baltimore, Maryland in 2007, when the mentors showed to us the flyers that they put together, the spirit mentors, and they distributed throughout the city of Baltimore and the Maryland state especially, promoting the therapeutics that they are going to be offering. And we saw tents being installed days in advance with nurses, doctors, therapists, and the different sections in the organization to receive these thousands of spirits that were coming by. So there is a whole lot that happens in the spiritual realm to the benefit of these spirits that count on us, the incarnates. So let's see where Emmanuel brought the inspiration to write chapter 55 about disturbed spirits. They were studying in Chico Xavier's meeting item 292 of the Medium's book, which talks about its chapter 26, questions that may be addressed to spirits. And this is specifically subtitle concerning the fate of spirits. And there is a question that Allan Kardec asked the spirits. And the answer is phenomenal. It's item 292 of the Medium's book by Kardec. Question and answer 22. Are spirits able to explain the nature of their sufferings or happiness? So when a spirit comes through a medium and communicates, are they able to explain why they are suffering? Because the spirits may come and say, oh, my leg is hurting, oh, my chest is hurting, I'm suffering, but they sometimes can or cannot explain. Are they able? And the answer of the spirits is absolutely. And these revelations present you with a valuable lesson, for they enable you to understand the nature of future consequences. By destroying your erroneous ideas about the subject, they tend to rekindle your faith and trust in God's goodness. Good spirits are happy to report on their bliss, whereas evil ones may be constrained to describe their sufferings in order to lead them to repent. They sometimes even find some relief in this. It is the unfortunate who groan in the hope of obtaining compassion. Don't forget that the essential and exclusive goal of Spiritism is your improvement. To reach that goal, that spirits have received permission to initiate you in the future life, offering your examples that you may use to your advantage. The more you identify with the world that awaits you, the less you will suffer in the one where you are now. This encapsulates the present objective of the Spiritist revelation. There are people who think that Spiritists are always thinking about the spiritual realm in the future. No. The more we understand about how life works, the consequences of our actions, the law of action and reaction, the better we live in today. The universality of these teachings tell us that the more we practice detachment, the more we practice this feeling of impermanence, knowing that sometime we won't be here. Think about this. And Joana de Angelis, through Divaldo Franco, says it in the book Happy Life. We need to think about the transition back to the spiritual realm through death at least once a day. Our death, the death of loved ones. So when somebody dies, we shouldn't say, oh my God, what a disaster. But why is it a disaster? If death is just a transformation, people are freer. Oh, Vanessa, because they committed suicide. We shouldn't even say disaster. It's sad. But there's always a way out. Of course, we shouldn't do it. But people are not going to burn in hell for that reason. Oh, because they died in a tragic accident. Of course, it's dramatic, we understand. But we should understand the designs of God. For us, Spiritists, the way of learning these things will tell us how to live better now, how to live more wisely, we would say. It's about wisdom, efficiency. And the spirits told to Kardec, don't forget that the essential and exclusive goal of Spiritism is your improvement. And the spirits focus on it. Good spirits are happy to report their bliss, and the evil ones, they talk about the sufferings, their repentance. What does it have to do with us? Where are we in it? Let's see what Emmanuel says. The wisdom of the teacher, Emmanuel, the educator of our immortal souls, is going to tell us, based on these teachings that we read in the Medium's book, the following chapter, chapter 55 of the Medium's Harvest, Disturbed Spirits. This was psychographed on August 1st, 1960. It is possible to know disturbed spirits up close. Almost always, they appear in the category of insane and forgetful, between denial and rebelliousness. They are discarnate beings, spirits who have lost their physical bodies, and because they have deliberately kept themselves in ignorance or cruelty, now they cannot find but their own memories to live and to live with. Disturbed spirits enclose themselves in avarice and continue surrounded by miserliness. They abandon themselves in addiction and turned into the vampires, looking for anyone to accept their unhappy suggestions. Disturbed spirits embraced delinquency and suffered the whip of remorse in the recesses of their soul. Disturbed spirits relied on laziness and now carry the pain of repentance. They mocked the hours and did not know what to do so the hours would not mock them. There are so many afflictions they discover in the tormented landscapes of their deluded mind. Men and women who mock life, the true authors of all conceptions of hell beyond death, that have appeared in the world since the dawn of reason in the field of humanity. In the past, the approach of these spirits was obscure. The approach, hold on a second. Of these spirits was obscure and almost impractical. Today, however, with enlightened mediumship, it is easy to alleviate and to help them. Thus, you may see and hear them in mediumistic circles, recording their disturbing narratives and bitter words. Nevertheless, help them with respect and affection as if assisting lost friends. But do not boast of indoctrinating and correcting them, because the divine goodness allows us to serve them, seeking thereby to correct and indoctrinate us on earth and beyond, so that we may avoid all error while enjoying the favor of generous time. I know we're going to go back and rewind the tape of this apparently short message, but very concise. The question that he begins here is always how to identify the spirits. The disturbed spirits, it's possible to know them up close. Emmanuel gives us the features, the psychological features of them. They are mentally ill, insane. And they are in between denial and rebelliousness. I remember in many mediumistic meetings, for example, a recent one, the spirit said, I want to avenge. What would you do? Asking the counselor, the spirit counselor. What would you do if you were in my shoes? What would you do knowing that your whole family perished in the hands of those soldiers? Destroyed all of us in a brutal, cruel way. And that's all they remember. They don't remember anything else. And they were obsessing homeless people. So when you see a homeless person, you please mark it down. You may ask, why are they here and not in a home? Why are they here and not in a shelter? Why are they here if they have a phone? Why are they here? You can ask yourself, why would a sane person be in the streets asking or begging for anything? So the conclusion is pretty easy. They are, to say the least, mentally ill. And to add to that picture, they are pretty much suffering from spiritual attachment, what we call obsession, to levels that you've never seen before. And they are in the streets. Yes. Oh, but Vanessa, there is laziness. That, I don't know. What we know is that there is spiritual attachment. And the spirit who comes and presents themselves avenging, they have their reason. But that's all they remember. As Emmanuel says, they may be forgetful. They don't remember their side of the story. They don't remember others' lives that probably make them understand why they were subjected to such trials and expiations. And Emmanuel tells us even more. The discarnate beings, they keep themselves in ignorance and cruelty. And they cannot find but their own memories to live by and live with. They encapsulate themselves in that moment of desperation, of darkness, and they stay there. They don't recall anything anymore. So for us, it's a matter, and forgive me, I'm just connecting to cardiac radio to double check if the system is still in place. But here he gives us more about when people may put themselves into that mindset of disturbed spirits. So greediness, avarice. People, and if you talk to them and say, they're greedy, they're gonna laugh at you, say, no, I'm not greedy, I'm just cautious. I'm a planned person. No. You really hold the finances very tight. Because look at Chico Xavier, the non-greedy example we have at hand. He didn't have anything, and he gave all that he had. This is not to be greedy. But Vanessa, have to plan, yeah, but if you plan too much for yourself and very little for others, it's like 10 for me, 1 for others, you bet it's going towards this avarice. 20 for me, 1 for others. 100 for me, half $1 for somebody else. Mark down statistically how much we are doing this. So this is the therapeutic question, so we don't enter the zone again of disturbed spirits, because certainly we've been there at some point. And now we're out. But we don't know tomorrow. abandoned themselves in addictions and became vampires. And now they are creating addictions in others. So anybody who is addicted is being vampirized and may be vampirizing others. In Spiritism, if you go to the book Nosso Lar by André Luiz, you're going to see in one of the chapters, and I forgot the name, the number of the chapter, that talks about the vampire spirit. A woman who is knocking at the gates of the city of Nosso Lar, willing to be helped, but the mentors tell her, we're not ready for you, we cannot help you yet. And then she transforms herself and shows her real face. When she shows her real face, André Luiz understands that this woman is not there to really be helped, but she wanted to kind of abuse the resources that the city had. So vampire spirits is a part of the abuse system. In the book Liberation by André Luiz through Chico Xavier, we have a deeper understanding of what vampire spirit is all about. The definition is actually in the book Liberation, when André Luiz says the vampire is anyone who is taking advantage of somebody else's resources in an idle manner. So if the parents are working and the child is already a grown-up and is not producing or being up to date with that productivity of the house, studying or working, they are becoming vampires of the family. How many are like this in the world? Zillions. And there are people, maybe spouses, relatives, and let's talk about work. How many people go to work and they spend the whole day in front of the screen of the computer? They do their job, but they spend the whole day doing something else as well, instead of really being conscientious and productive. They play games. They use the computer of the company not to do anything useful, but to be chatting. Everybody does it. But then our conscience, in a way, I'm sucking the energies and the resources of the company, spiritually speaking, in an idle manner because I'm not being productive. I know it's a tough conversation, but Spiritism is like this. If it were that easy, everybody would be a spiritist today. It is easy if we want, but when we don't want to change, it's hard. So how many of us are in a community, like for example, we migrate to another country and we just think about sucking its resources. What is in this country for me? And then I just see the advantages. And I don't think what I am here to give the country. JFK, as a president, told his nation, so the United States would leave the realm of being a vampire of its own nation. He said, don't ask what the country can do for you. Ask yourself what you can do for the country. Beautiful statement, because it calls the nation and its citizens to never enter this mindset of being a vampire spirit, sucking the vitalities of the country instead of giving it to the country. Much of the social problems we have in countries like Brazil and other developing countries rely upon the fact that the citizens don't have enough education and enough social conscience to really be partaking in the development of the country. They are waiting for the government and for the high society to take charge instead of taking charge themselves. So our dear Les Severo is helping us here reminding of the chapter 31 of the book Nosso Lar that talks about vampirism. So we need to ask ourselves, if I am in any way sucking the vitality of anyone or any organization and not actually giving back. And unfortunately, in spiritist centers, this may happen. But that's the fault of the administrators. Because we allow people to come and go, just thinking about taking and not necessarily giving. A good spiritist center will create consciousness in the whole audience, saying, you're receiving, but don't forget, you're being called to give. You're being called also, you are empowered also to do your part. You have problems, but the world has problems. And if you forget a bit about your problem, help others who have bigger problems, you'll be out of your problem sooner than you expect. Without charity, there's no salvation. A good spiritist center is going to empower the audience to really take action. Go there and receive, because we need it. But take action and be proactive wherever they are. In their companies, in their houses, in their communities, in their neighborhood, and in the spiritist center as well. So Emmanuel even tells us that these disturbed spirits came to be like that because they were criminals. And now they have their remorse and they come to tell us about it. Or they were lazy and now they are painfully repentant. There's a beautiful case in the book Heaven and Hell, second part, which is, if you haven't read it, I tell you, you don't need to read it. Listen to it. You know, Kardec Radio years ago used the collaboration of 54 voices around the world to put together the dialogues between Kardec and spirits of different states of mind and feelings, from happy spirits to criminals, to suffering spirits and suicidal spirits, and spirits who are going through expiation, all sorts. If you go to kardecradio.com, you click on, let me see here, look at this, I'm going to show it to you if you haven't seen it yet. Look at this. This is the, sorry. You see, here we have podcasts. I'm just showing to you, for those who are watching on Facebook, podcasts, the app, schedule, YouTube, audience, and how to listen. If you go to podcasts, I'm going to open it for you. So you go there and you're going to find different programs, almost like 60 programs here. Take a look. 60 programs of all different kinds. We have more than 3,000 podcasts here. 3,000, just to have an idea. And we have here audiobooks. Click on it, you have Heaven and Hell. And we're very thankful to Mark Smith for putting together such a beautiful site. And when you go there, this is the quality. The Heaven and Hell book. Listen to this one.
Mr. Sanson. Mr. Sanson, a former member of the Parisian Spiritist Society.
You see, it's beautiful. And here you're going to find the cases. Happy spirits and all the other spirits. And you can listen to it. Sorry, friends. You can listen to it. I know, our camera here is not professional, but you can listen to it and enjoy and listen to those beautiful dialogues. It's almost like a soap opera, but they are true. And Kardec shows to us the case of a spirit that was bored. And she says, I'm bored. And Kardec says, why? I've always been bored. How was your life? I was married and had children, but I was always bored. And she keeps telling about it and telling him. So it's fascinating because the spirits, Emmanuel says, laziness later is repentance. When our children say, I'm bored, say, boost your creativity. Go find something. You're not lazy. Boredom is equal to laziness. Don't be lazy. Don't allow your youth to be on that mindset. Say, you're better than this. Don't believe in this voice that tells you that you are bored, because you are magically divine, right? And Carol Smith is saying her favorite case is Samuel Philippe, better than soap opera. You're right. And you're right, Carol. You're right. The spirits who are disturbed, they mocked the hours. People who do nothing, they don't care, I do what I want, and then they need help. And if you and I and all of us, wherever we are in this world, put together a group of people, 3 people, 2 people, you need a medium and a counselor, and then hopefully a supporting medium. You don't need many people, 2, 3 people, 4 people. For the longest time, Chico Xavier and Divaldo Franco had meeting with 3, 4 people. I remember Raul Teixeira mentioning to us that his most serious mediumistic meeting, the one that was graver, the cases of those obsession, had 4 people who were very skilled and very harmonious. 4 people. You don't need to expect for 10 people to be on the same page. And then, once you are there, these spirits are going to present themselves, and if you already know how to conduct it. He says, and this is Emmanuel, not Vanessa. Thank God. It's Emmanuel. Enlightened mediumship makes it easy to alleviate and help these spirits. My friends, in this collaboration between 2 worlds in a mediumistic meeting, in less than an hour, groups of spirits may be rescued from this disturbed state of mind to being brought to the spiritual realm with the opportunity of changing their mindset. If we just allow that they use ourselves, the incarnates. The superior spirits need the incarnate mediums to operate more easily through these disturbed spirits. So mediumship is not only to receive instructions from high spirits, no. It's mostly for therapeutic purposes. And that's why Emmanuel calls it enlightened mediumship. A mediumship that received the light of Spiritism. It's reasoned, it's understood, it's felt, and then we can work. We can be of help. We're a bridge. A medium is a bridge. It doesn't depend on us. But we can be that helping hand. So the spirit may come through me. And sometimes the spirits want to talk. But we control ourselves. And we talk exactly what is needed. Because the medium is the first nurse of the spirit. The first helping hand of the spirit. So that's why we need to practice self-control. And that begins with consciousness and breathing. And telling ourselves, this is my physical body. Nobody's going to do with it anything that I don't allow. I'm not going to say words that are going to hurt anybody. So Tony Stewart is saying, Greg and I did this meeting for 4 years before we opened the center. You're right. Yes. And Carol Smith is saying, mediumship is a blessed opportunity of service. Yes, Carol. And now Tanya Stewart says, as we moved away, we're still working. Beautiful. Yeah, it doesn't stop, right? And we may see and hear the disturbed spirits in mediumistic circles. But we're going to help them. How? With respect and affection. Assisting lost friends. It may be us. How would you like to be treated? A spirit comes and says, I came here because you guys are witches. What are we going to say? Maybe singing. Oh yes, sometimes singing is much better. You are a child of God. You are a child of God. And you were very much loved by the ones that are there. And then we've seen how many mothers of the beyond come with open arms to receive these spirits. And it's beyond words. It's vibration. And they are embraced by the loved ones. Sometimes the spirit counselor says, look to your right. You're going to see your loved one waiting for you. Go, because you're tired of this hatred. And they feel the vibration of the group and they open up, crying, surrendering, because they are tired of that. So it's beautiful to see how this happens. So Emmanuel is telling us, you and I can be of help through mediumship. And mediumship under the light of Spiritism, and mediumship with Christ consciousness, with charity in the heart, with respect and love. And love. That's why the harmony of the team is of the essence. Right? Teresa Castro is asking. So if the disturbed spirit feels remorse, the medium feels the remorse, but is able to identify it not as their own. Teresa, for experienced mediums, yes, they can identify easily. For beginners, they may get confused about why am I feeling this, and they start thinking it's something they did wrong during the day and it's nothing to do with it. When they are more experienced, they can sort out more easily. So it takes, like the message we read on the previous chapter, talent and experience. It takes time and effort and a repetition to really create that experience that is going to allow us to sort out the situations, okay? And Karina Alice is saying, I've been participating in the same obsession group for 19 years. As a medium, I could never learn in any book what I learned from the practice. You are right, Karina. Beautiful. You're right. No book in psychiatry, in psychology, teaches us what we learn in a mediumistic meeting. That's why we're telling everybody, if you are studying Spiritism, visit a center if your center doesn't have. Visit a center where they have a mediumistic meeting and ask permission to watch one. No true Spiritist is really, really true if they don't participate in these mediumistic practices. I'm sorry. I'm not saying the true Spiritist in regarding the transformation, but as Kardec says in the Medium's book, if we just study, we're theoretical Spiritists. But the Spiritist that really goes for the whole mileage needs to see a mediumistic meeting. And not only see, but learn how to participate. We're in an era in which people distance too much from it. And I understand it's not easy to form a mediumistic group. It takes commitment, it takes discipline, and people don't want discipline. But it's important, and many people that I see that have chronic spiritual problems, it's not necessarily because they are obsessed, but they are self-obsessed. They don't want to discipline themselves and to fulfill that line of the promise, working in the rescue work of a mediumistic meeting. Kardec brought mediumship to the people. Like Martin Luther, he brought the Bible to the public, making it available to all. Kardec took mediumship from the initiated and from the few to the world. We need to read, to study, and to practice. Read, study, practice. Read, study, practice. Read, study, practice. Read and study will not do it. Practice. When we sit at a meeting and we need to practice compassion, respect, kindness, we also become better people. And through the stories of these spirits, we receive warnings. As the spirits told Kardec, warnings. Watch out, because if you do the same, you'll be next. So we would encourage, go, and if you live in an area that there is no center, plan a trip to a spiritist center closest to you, reliable and serious, and talk to the president and ask if one day you can visit and watch a mediumistic meeting, because people really need to see what it is. It's important. It's important. Tony Stewart is saying, if I identify from where it's come, I connected with the Spiritist Center and I pray asking for the Spirit's worker of the center to help. I think I understand, Tanya. But let's ask this question to ourselves. When you see somebody who is disturbed, what is the first thing that you do? Do you embrace or do you judge? Because usually we see people who are troubled and we're like, that person. Then we see discarnate spirits coming and we're like, we feel the same. So we really need to practice this non-judgmental attitude. When we listen and we feel, it could be me. Maybe I was like this yesterday and I'm here. And now it's my opportunity to give to the Spirit the understanding that I probably received to be here today, and I would like to receive if I were in that position. So we need to ask ourselves where we are in that regard. We don't indoctrinate the spirits. We talk to them. They come and say, I'm afraid. We're not going to be preaching them. Don't be afraid because God is love. We're going to say, why are you afraid? I'm afraid because people did this to me. Do you remember when it happened? It was 1856, just out of my mind. And then say, but how are you feeling now? Why are you afraid? So you talk therapeutically without the need of preaching and indoctrinating. And you don't want, when you're going to a counselor or therapist, you say, I'm feeling afraid. And they say, why? Why are you feeling afraid? Life is good. Think about it. You're healthy, you're beautiful, and you're wealthy. Why? Preaching, lecturing us. We don't preach to spirits. We don't lecture them. We don't indoctrinate. We welcome them and listen to them and embrace them with our hearts. and we wish them the best we can. Because the good spirits are going to do essentially 99% of the work. They need this 1% of our help to really move forward. And Tanya Stewart is clarifying. She was talking about when a medium, as a medium, I'm not feeling well. Ah, okay. When you pray, right? You pray. I understand. Thank you, Tanya. Friends, let me say hi to you as a break. Breathe in and out. Think about this. If you have questions, we're still here. Feel free, okay? And your comments as well. Karina, beautiful Karina, thank you so much for being with us. And what a disciplined mind. It's 3 a.m. in Brazil. Mamma mia, almost 3, right? Carol Smith and Mark Smith, big hug to you guys. Tanya Stewart, thank you so much. Tanya and Greg. Rihanna and Nico, how are you? Fred Gouveia, what a joy, my friend. Dulce Story, what a joy, what a disciplined person too. Ceisa, my friend Ceisa. Paulo and Tony, how are you? Teresa Castro, what a joy. Nora Brasil, how are you, Nora? Narciso, our light man, how are you? Andrea Torres. Fábio, how are you, my friend? Angelita, how are you? Lea Severo, thank you for doing this partnership with us, Lea. Chris Costa, how are you, Chris? Is it too cold there, California? A little bit? The Bay Area, right? Still a little windy. Adriana Faria, how are you, Adriana? Angie, how are you, our beautiful Angie? And you know, I'm going to share here, this coming week on Thursday, Angie Stewart is going to be a cardiac radio every 2 weeks. Facebook Live and at Cardiac Radio, bringing to you the study sessions on thought and life, okay? There you go, Angela. I already shared it. Couldn't hold it anymore. Helen Montetilo, how are you in our beautiful Philippines? Silvio Otero, what a joy. Silvia, what a joy. Lívia Moraes, big hug to you, Lívia. So friends, as we're talking about disturbed spirits, it's an invitation to us. Tonight we feel that Emmanuel in his dissertation is most of all inviting us to the practice of compassion and to this rescue work through mediumship. It's a serious invitation that comes to those who are willing to commit and to help. Some people say, I would love to help the world. Well, here you have it. Helping a rescue work in mediumship is obsession. You're going to do what I feel do around the world. And you're going to help the world much more than you can imagine. Much more. Tomorrow, talking about this, Emmanuel, in chapter 56, he talks about the weak side. What is this weak side? He says, teaser, not just the mediums. He talks about people who commit mistakes, make mistakes, right, Rudy? Thank you, Rudy. Yes, you're right. Cardiac Radio, learning to detach from vampirism habits while incarnated. Beautiful. Thank you for bringing that up. So he says, the weak side. He's talking about vulnerability. When people are vulnerable, they make mistakes. What then? Because this is gonna happen. Well, it will happen at some point. What should we do? When people fail, when we fail, what is the solution? And what is the preventative measure? Do they exist? Because we're fallible. What do we do? Do you have a strategy for when you make a mistake? not to fall in the abyss of guilt and remorse forever? And when people make a mistake, what do we do? How do we prevent it? Is it possible? Tomorrow, when we come back here, God willing, we'll be talking about the vulnerability of ours in mediumistic works, in our lives, solutions and prevention. Shall we? Yes? Don't forget, we're not alone, and we're being given these beautiful resources to boost our consciousness. Let us go in peace, fulfill our day. If we are listening to this during the day, if we're going to sleep, let us surrender to the schools of the beyond, where we can continue our instruction, our opportunity to serve, and to be treated if needed as well. Shall we, friends? Big hug to you, and until tomorrow.